Now we have that set. Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about who Lisa is. Lisa Love is a CMO and co-founder of Tanoshi, where the mission is to provide an equitable digital education for all kids around the world, no matter their socioeconomic background. She oversees the planning, development, and execution of the marketing strategy. Lisa began her career over 20 years ago, and she's worked for various consumer packaged goods Fortune 500 companies, including Heinz and Del Monte, in brand and product marketing. She managed a portfolio of brands that generated revenue of up to $75 million. Lisa also spent 11 years working for the #1 online retailer of wine, where she wore many hats and worked in various departments throughout her tenure, including operations, merchandising, and partnerships. She later spent time as a marketing consultant and has helped numerous businesses and nonprofit organizations accomplish their goals. Lisa is passionate about giving all kids a fair chance to succeed. She is bridging the digital divide by providing affordable computer for kids with preloaded, curated content. Kids can do their homework and learn to code on the Tanoshi without internet access. Lisa and the team recently appeared on Shark Tank, where they received a deal from Damon John. She was also featured in Black Enterprise, Good Day LA, and On Air with Ryan Seacrest. Lisa has also recently received the following awards: Entrepreneur 100 Powerful Women of 2020 and Inc. Magazine Top 100 Women Entrepreneurs of 2020. Lisa is also a member of the San Francisco chapter of the National Black MBA. And actually, this is how we met many years ago. We worked side by side on marketing strategy and execution. Tonight, I have the pleasure of chatting with Lisa as the host. And once again, you are a co-host, so please leave any questions in the chat box. So Lisa, what an amazing background you have. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and about what you currently are doing.
Yeah, as you were reading that, I was like, whoa, that's a journey there, right? So yeah, I mean, basically, in a nutshell, I have my MBA. I went to an HBCU, Clark Atlanta, graduated decades ago. And, I always knew that I wanted to start my own thing. I always knew that I wanted to do my own, start my own business. I always had that entrepreneurial heart in me. And it was, yeah, I said when I graduated from business school, I said I was going to give corporate 10 years of my life. And 10 years turned into like 20 years. And so, it was to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm either going to do it or I'm not, because I'm getting way too old. And so, yeah, entrepreneurship, it's definitely scary. I think you really have to have that in you. And being an entrepreneur, it's not for everyone, which is totally fine, right? It's character that you have within you, and you've got to be willing to take those risks, right? And go up and down, a roller coaster. It is a roller coaster ride. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of just gives you a brief background, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's so great. We're going to get into your whole, where did you get that from, that whole entrepreneurship vision and what has inspired you. But first, let's tell everyone exactly what your company is doing, from the social impact that you're having on our communities. What exactly is your company doing right now?
So, our whole mission is to provide an equitable digital education for all kids, no matter their socioeconomic background. I grew up with an educator. My mom taught in Los Angeles Unified School District for 50 years. And she taught in South Central. And so I kind of grew up seeing like just the inequities. She had to use her own time, her own money, her own resources to really get her students up to speed. She taught mainly the primary grades, like kindergarten. And so, you know, they didn't have all of the resources, you know, so she had to spend her own time and money and kind of, you know, make do really. And so that's what she did. And I grew up seeing that. And so I've just always thought that it's unfair. I think all kids, like you said, all kids should have a fair chance to succeed. And so I think it really starts with education. So that's what we're doing at Tanoshi. We're trying to give every child, no matter their socioeconomic background, you know, a fair chance to succeed. And so even with, you know, COVID, when that hit, you know, 50 million K through 12 students in the US had to go from learning in the class to learning at home, distance learning. 16 million of those students did not have either a computer or internet access. So yeah, so that's, you know, that's a good number of kids that didn't have the resources in order to even do distance learning, and 800 million worldwide. So it's a huge, I don't want to say opportunity, but just, you know, discrepancy. There's a huge gap, right?
Right.
And so that's what we're really trying to close that gap.
Amazing. So for your company, do you provide those laptops for the children? Can you talk to us a little bit about the actual laptop and like, what does it come with? I mentioned in the bio that they don't need internet access. So does everything kind of, does it get preloaded with everything? Let us know about that.
So our flagship product is, we call it the Tennoshi 2-in-1, which is, it's a tablet and it's a detachable keyboard. So you can, it works as a laptop, but kids can also use it as just a tablet. It's $200. MSRP is $199. It comes preloaded with Google Docs and Sheets and Gmail and the App Store, the Google Play Store. But what parents really love are the parental controls, because they can manage and monitor their child's device all from their phone. So they can shut it down from their phone. So if mom is in the kitchen cooking dinner and the child is in the bedroom supposedly doing homework, and the mom knows that they're not doing homework, she can shut it down from her phone.
Oh, that's good.
In the kitchen. It can automatically, you can set it to automatically shut down at a certain time at bedtime, because you know kids sometimes they don't always shut it down at bedtime.
Right.
So, and we target 6 to 12-year-olds. So tween market, which is really an untapped market if you think about it. You know, there's a bunch of tablets and then there's adult computers, but nothing really tailored from the ground up for 6 to 12-year-olds. And the parental controls is one thing that, like I said, parents love.
So that is such a great opportunity. So I want to take us back. Let's take us back to the beginning. So you mentioned that entrepreneurship was something that you knew out of school that you wanted to do, and you were giving yourself 10 years. So talk to us about, how did that come about? Like, how did you just know that in 10 years, this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to give corporate a chance, but I know I'm going to be on my own. Tell us about what forged that in you.
So I knew that, you know, I needed to develop those skill sets, right? Before I went back to grad school, I, you know, did my own thing then. I was in I'm from Los Angeles. So I was in Los Angeles and I had a bunch of girlfriends and we started our own, we called it California Soul catering business. So, you know, and that was in my early 20s. So, you know, then I knew that I wanted to do my own thing, start my own business. But I knew I didn't have the skill sets, right? So that's why I went back to school in marketing. You know, marketing was my concentration. And so as I was graduating, I said I was going to give myself 10 years just to kind of learn everything, or as much as possible. And then I felt like that was when I would be ready to like really branch out and do my own thing. But like I said, 10 years turned into 20, you know, you get complacent, you get you know, you're at a company and you like that, you know, the stability and the paycheck coming every 2 weeks.
Right, right.
So yeah, so it turned into 20 years, but deep down again, still, I knew like, okay, my whole thing was like, why am I making someone else rich? Like I should be making my own self rich. Like as much time and energy that I'm spending at a company, I need to like, you know, take that time and energy and, you know, do my own thing. So that was my whole mentality.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because so many of us, like, we might have that dream and the drive to take that side hustle that we have and to turn it into a business. But what stops us is fear,
Right.
or we don't have it all figured out. So could you just talk about when you have that side hustle or when you have that dream or that passion, what are some of the things that you need in order to make the leap or to prepare for that leap?
So I would highly recommend, you know, if you're working, you know, your 9-to-5 corporate job or whatever, or just, you know, a job, try and do something on the side. You know, if you know that you want to start your own business, definitely try and gain some other skill sets. I mean, you're definitely learning some stuff, you know, on the job, but whatever it is you want to do, like I knew I wanted to do, I still wanted to do marketing. I wasn't really doing like marketing at my job. I was doing more like merchandising and then business development. So it wasn't marketing. So I took classes on the side, you know, at nighttime in like social media marketing. So I got my certificate in social media marketing because I knew that was going to be something that was going to be it's going to be, I don't want to say trending, but it's, you know, a popular area in demand.
Right.
And so
it's still that way.
Yeah. So, and that was back in like 2012 or 13. So yeah, so I would highly recommend, you know, kind of figuring out what you want to do. I know that's kind of difficult too, because a lot of times you don't know, but a lot of times people do know. Like, I know that I want to do this, and then start gaining those skill sets, you know, early on while you're working. You know, you're going to have that side hustle. And so, yeah, that's what I would highly recommend. Also, I would recommend networking, like networking your butt off. And a good way to network is to volunteer, right? So, and that's what I did actually. You know, I volunteered and with the National Black MBAs and was on their marketing committee. And that's how you meet a lot of people. I mean, the National Black MBA, they have some great events, right? Great speakers, like top-notch speakers, like impressive speakers. And so the way you get to know, you know, some of those speakers and just, you know, just, again, just networking, getting involved, helping out, you know, volunteering. I'm still volunteering because it's so important that you network like continuously. Next year, I'm going to be helping, I don't know if you've heard of the Hidden Genius Project.
Yes.
But I'm going to be working with some of the graduates there on their marketing plans, because they're, you know, about 5 or 6 graduates, they're working on a startup. And so I'm going to be helping them with their marketing. So again, so volunteering, I mean, definitely National Black MBA is a great organization to really get to know other professionals, other just great people to know, speakers, etc., companies.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I have the same, I believe in the same thing, like volunteering for the organization. You meet a lot of great people. I mean, that's how we got connected. And so I learned so much too from you looking at your journey, but also your insight about marketing and how you looked at strategy and how you worked for different organizations, and just the level of people you meet. I think that's so key. And also from a business aspect, because when you start to work with people and people like you, they introduce you to their network. So
Yeah.
that's also key, is gaining that access. So with all that said and done, I mean, the name of this fireside chat was From Corporate to Shark Tank. And I'm sure my co-hosts out there would love to know, what was that journey about? Walk us through how you appeared on Shark Tank, what some of the preparation was, the excitement of it all. Walk us through that.
So yeah, Shark Tank was, I would say it was a big surprise for us, because even though, you know, we're constantly raising, we're always looking for funding. But Shark Tank was not on our radar. I mean, I had never even watched Shark Tank, believe it or not. I've heard of it, but I never watched an episode. So it was not on our radar. We actually received an email out of the blue from the casting director of Shark Tank. And they, you know, so in order to be on Shark Tank, there's different ways that people get on. There's your traditional way where, you know, there's like casting calls and stuff like that, which that wasn't how we got on. So they also have folks within Shark Tank, like the casting directors, that go out and seek people that they think would be a good fit to be on Shark Tank. And that's how we got on. So casting director actually contacted the CEO, our CEO, Brad, sent him an email out of the blue. And, and when Brad received it, he was like, is this real? Like, we get a lot of stuff, and we had to like make sure that that was legit. And so we did our little investigation, and we're like, yeah, I guess it is legit. So, so then, yeah, so, you know, we had an initial call with the casting director, and then there was a lot of preparation. So just to give you some time frame, we started the process in May. It was like May of 2019 when they first contacted us. And we taped the show. We didn't tape the show until September of 2019. We didn't air until May of 2020. So it was like a year from when they first contacted us to us actually being on air. And so it's a long process, lots of videos we had to do. And this was before the pandemic, right?
Right.
So we had to do a lot of just proving to the Shark Tank producers that, you know, we can be energetic. That was the one word that we kept hearing over and over again when we were doing these videos. You have to have high energy and be energetic and all this stuff. And then, you know, there's that piece of it, but then there's also all of the legality stuff, all the paper, you sign your life away, basically. There's a lot of confidentiality. Like, we couldn't say anything to anyone for like a year. Like, yeah, we couldn't say anything. So mum's the word. And then, so yeah, so there's the whole preparation going on the show, right? And then when you're there, that's a whole nother nervous wreck piece of it.
Right. The music alone, I'm like, oh my goodness. They really raise everyone's kind of like interest level, just playing the music and wanting to understand, is somebody getting a deal off of this? So that's exciting, right? Because you guys got a deal. Not too many people that go on there get a deal, as an avid watcher of Shark Tank.
You are, yeah. Yeah, you know, and you have to realize too that it is a show, right? It's entertainment. Right. So what you saw, the 5 minutes or so that you saw, was like 5 minutes of 45 minutes of us actually, you know, pitching and answering questions. And so it was interesting to see like the final cut, like what they actually showed.
Right.
They made it seem like, like very suspenseful.
Yeah.
Like when we were there, we kind of knew like Damon was going to give us a deal, like from the get-go.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting how they sort of cut the tape and edit it and all that stuff to like, oh my God, are they going to get a deal?
I'm throwing it to one of my co-hosts, Rachel, and she has a great question for you in the chat. She says, can you walk us through your experience of growing your product concept to pitch to product? And her second question, I'll go into her second question in just a bit, but could you just walk us through, like, you and your co-founders, at like what point did you come into the business with when the product was at conception to what it is today, like the iterations and things like that? Can you walk us through that? And then the part.
So why don't I rewind for a little bit? So the CEO, Brad, I actually, again, networking, I met him at a pitch contest. And when he was pitching, he pitched the computer. And I was actually helping my mom out. She's developing apps and she was developing a typing app. So when he was pitching that computer, I was like, ding, 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 ding. That would be great for my mom's typing app. And so I went up to him afterwards and talked to him and, introduced myself and told him what we were doing and stuff like that. And we just hit it off like right away. So the concept, the product was pretty much there. I mean, it was still in development.
Right.
But when I came on board, it was just more like, okay, let me just help you with some social media. Again, doing that side hustle while you're while you have your 9-to-5 job, do that side hustle, gain some skill sets, right? So I helped him out with social media initially, and then one thing led to another, and I ended up taking on more responsibility and just really heading the marketing. So the product was pretty much there when I came on board, but it wasn't launched. So we weren't in the market yet. So this was like 2017. So when I came on board, we were doing like a Kickstarter campaign. So it was getting ready for that. And then just getting ready for our launch. We launched in 2018 in March. So from August of 2017 to March of 2018, that's when I was basically building that buzz. And we had someone that was doing PR. So getting the word out through PR and, getting the plans ready, getting the marketing ready. And then when we launched on Amazon, which is a business that I managed at my corporate job. So taking that skill set and transferring it over to Tanoshi, where I was able to, I don't want to say anything was a smooth transition, but it was an easier transition to figure out the whole Amazon model and getting our product on there and getting sales. And that's really where we built our traction, was Amazon.
Right. No, that's awesome.
That explain it.
Yeah, that totally helped with the part of the question where she wants to know from concept to pitch to product. And Rachel, feel free to add if you wanted some more clarity, but I'm going to go into the second part of your question, which is, and being taken seriously as a woman of color when it comes to investors. Can you walk us through that?
That's ongoing, seriously.
Talk about some of your challenges with that.
I always throw out the number less than 1%. It's like 0.00 something percent of Black women actually receive VC funding. So that's really an ongoing challenge. But I have to say, with the whole George Floyd tragedy, and that just really opened up some doors and built awareness around the systemic racism that exists. So VCs have been a little bit more open and receptive to Black and brown founders. I actually have I have a call with an investor next week, and it's specifically a women VC fund. And so she reached out to me, and it was actually it's good because I feel like she gets it. Like we haven't had a conversation yet, but I do feel just from our conversation, from our email exchanges, the VC world, like some of these investors, they can be very, very harsh and very into themselves and very rude. And I've pitched, a good number of times, not nearly as many times as Brad, the CEO. He's pitched to hundreds of folks. And so I'm still kind of new at pitching. But there is kind of this fear thing too going on with me, because I have this perception of these VCs being, again, like I had a conversation with Brad just yesterday, and he's like, VCs can be very, very, very rough. Like if you don't know their lingo and stuff. I'm like, okay, give me the Cliff's Notes version of the VC lingo, because that's sort of my fear. But with this woman, I'm actually kind of a lot more comfortable because I think she kind of gets it. But yeah, Black women founders, I think it's always going to be a challenge. Imagine less than 1% of Black women founders receive VC funding. That's like nothing. So it's just, you've got to push through it.
Yeah. And no, that's really great advice. Like you mentioned, like you have Brad as a CEO, someone that you can see how he's doing it and adapt it to your own. What are some other ways that you prepare for these conversations when you have these VC presentations?
Yeah, so definitely Brad, because he has a lot of experience presenting. And then we also have advisors. So one thing that I highly, highly encourage for entrepreneurs is your team is everything. I've worked with so many different startups, and this team is like definitely on point. Brad is a great leader. He just, he's your ideal leader. Just very encouraging, very humble. He just gets it. And so, so definitely Brad, but then we have also great advisors and women advisors that are very seasoned, very experienced, financial advisors, software advisors. So like with the financial advisor, we actually had a call last night, and she's aware of this call that I'm having with this investor next week. And so she is giving me pointers and just basically telling me what to be prepared for. But also in a way that's, not going to freak me out.
Right. We have some like really great conversations going on in the chat. So I just want to get to that real quickly. And remember, guys, you can use the Q&A box to ask your question. So here was another question. How has COVID-19 affected your business? And have you needed to pivot or modify the way you operate?
So that's a great question. So because our product is kids' computers, as you know, there is a lack of computers. And so our business actually, sales surged as soon as COVID hit and parents realized that they needed a computer for their child. We've been out of stock, like in and out of stock all summer long. We just got inventory, I don't know, a few weeks ago, actually earlier the beginning of October was when we had inventory again. So it's been actually really good for us as far as sales wise. It's been, and not only did COVID hit, right? So that hit in March, and then we aired on Shark Tank in May. So that was like a double whammy. And so in March we were out of product, and then I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be on Shark Tank. We've got to have some product to sell. That just doesn't make sense, right? So I started looking into pre-orders, and so we got pre-orders up and running. So we were able to get orders, but yeah, so COVID has been, it's actually helped us with sales and awareness.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in these times, businesses, in order to survive, had to pivot. I mean, we're even seeing like smaller businesses that maybe were in fashion or some type of like tailoring business. They all had to start doing some type of face mask or face coverings. Businesses that were historically brick and mortar had to then find a way to get online. So you're right. And it's great to see that you guys were able to pivot during this time and still be successful.
Right.
Some other questions for you. What were some challenges that you faced working full-time and working on your business venture? And what advice do you have to get through those challenging times? That's a really, really great question, because basically, how did you balance that?
Yeah. It's all about, you hear this so much, but prioritizing, knowing like what's your end goal. Like I always say, if you want to be an entrepreneur, then, and you're working full time, start building those skill sets. That's going to help you as an entrepreneur. So whatever you want to do, look forward and figure out, okay, what is it that I want to do? And what are the skill sets that I'm going to need in order to do that? And so that's what you should be focused on while you're at work. And it's just budgeting your time, like knowing that, hey, after work, I'm going to have to go to class. Like I went to San Francisco State and took a social media certificate program, right? So I knew, and I worked in the city, so I knew that, on whatever days, Tuesdays and Thursday nights, I'm going to have to go straight from work and spend a couple hours and, be in class. So it's just all a matter of planning, but realizing that, there is an end goal, and there is going to be, an end to it. But of course it's going to continue, but you're going to build on that.
Right. No, that's really great advice. I have another question here. What is your opinion on why your team was successful in receiving funding from Damon? Like going back to Shark Tank, like why do you think you were able to attract him and his offer?
So that's a good question. I know, one of the things that Damon really liked about us was that we were a mission-driven company. We focused on underrepresented, underserved communities, and that was a big selling point. Another thing too, I remember when we were on a call with him, and he said, it's cool that you guys are thinking ahead of the game. And the reason why he said that was because, I made a comment that not only is the challenge of, computers, the hardware, but also there's two issues going on right now with COVID and kids. One is that not everyone has a computer, and the second is the internet. And I said to him, we've got the device, but we also have a solution for the internet, in that you don't have to, our computer, it does not require Wi-Fi or internet. Kids can still do their homework offline. And so he said, well, that's actually really cool. You guys are ahead of your time. And I think that was one of the things that kind of attracted him to us too. And that was, That's, really Brad. Brad, he worked at Toshiba, he worked at Vizio as an analyst, looking at the numbers, looking at the trends, and seeing that this is an untapped market and that it's going to be a huge need in the future. And that's why he designed this computer, so that not only is it affordable for everyone, but also the fact that you don't have to have the internet, it doesn't require the internet. And with like third-party apps that we're preloading, I think I mentioned my mom on I'm very excited. We're going to be launching our Tennoshi Scholar, which is the second generation product. We're launching that next month. And so we're asking for our third-party content providers to provide us with content that does not require, the internet. Yeah. So that's really big for us.
And someone had asked that in the chat. I was going to ask you that when does that go on sale? And that's perfect, right in time for the holidays, so people can spread that love and order for the young loved ones in their lives. Going back to you for a second. So most of the times when entrepreneurs, they are really successful, they've had people that they've respected and that they've tried to have conversations with and things like that, like people that they've considered mentors along the way. Could you talk to us about some of the mentors in your life that you have had, currently have, like anyone that sticks out in particular that you can share with us?
I would say, a mentor would be even my mom. She's really inspired me. I never thought I was going to be like a teacher. I knew that wasn't my path. Right. But she's always encouraged me to, follow my passion. And I have to say, entrepreneurship, again, is not for everyone. You're eating noodles and, there's not a lot of money that comes in from the get-go. And so you've got to really budget financially. She's always been supportive. So in that sense, she's mentored me. But again, as far as mentors, I would say that the best mentors that I've had so far are actually the folks that I'm working with now. They have tons of experience. They're just very, very encouraging. Like we lean on each other. And I have to say, like, your team is everything. It really is. Make sure, you might have to do it by yourself, but make sure, if you get a co-founder or, another person on board, vet them out, make sure you guys have that same sort of character, moral character. That's important. I've worked with a lot of shady folks and a lot of drama. So, so just vet them out and make sure that you guys can, what your weekend they should be strong in, right? They should complement you.
I wanted to touch on something that you said, and you said it before earlier, like entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I want you to kind of talk to who is entrepreneurship for? Like, what are some of the qualities you would say that an entrepreneur needs to have in order to turn their passion into a corporation, a business, what have you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Definitely, you have to be able to take risks. You have to be able to stomach the ups and the downs. You have to be able to push through and not give up. Like, if you really know that you have this great product, and you've got this passion for this product, and in your heart that it's going to work and that this, it's something that folks need and want, right. Then there's going to be a lot of difficult times, but you have to have that character that's just going to push through it no matter what. It's interesting watching my co-founder, Brad, And, you know, even fundraising. I mean, you hear a lot of no's. No, 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 no,
Right.
no, no, no. And then, you know, and that's again where your team is going to have to, like, you're going to lean on your team and just say, you know what, we got to keep pushing. And so yeah, being able to just keep pushing, being able to be receptive and listen to what other folks are saying. I think that's an important quality too. I mean, of course, you're going to have all these folks trying to tell you what to do and da 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 da, but being able to sift through some of that stuff and really figure out what is it that I really need to listen to, like who, and I like to go by experience, you know, and just their heart, like their character. And so those are just some of the things that you really need to be able to look for.
Awesome. So we have another question from the chat, and then we're going to do something that's fun called the lightning round. But before we get to that, I want to ask this last question. It says, hi, Lisa, if you had to redo it all over again, what would you change? What would you do or not do in your journey?
So again, so networking, I was never a big networker. I hated going to events, but that's something that you have to do. You know, I learned at a later stage of my life that that's what I needed to do. I mean, not even just being an entrepreneur, but just even in the job market in general. Like even if you want to work for corporate, it's like all about who you know, right? That's how you get in. Right. And so, so just the networking, if I would have started a lot sooner if I had known. The networking, what else? What
did you do? Like, what are some things you're like, for example, you said you're only giving corporate 10 years, but you said you gave it closer to 20. Do you think you would have done that still, like, or not? Would you probably have stuck to that 10-year?
So that's a good point. Being able to realize sooner that you're ready. Like I was at a company for 11 years. I would have cut that down in half if I had known, if I could have done it over again, basically. Right. I would have definitely cut that in half. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that does. You gave us two really great examples. Make sure you network if you're thinking about doing entrepreneurship, and also just reevaluate and look at your goals and you know, get very clear on what it is you want to do, and then adjust your goals accordingly. So I think that's really great advice.
And so just be careful about being complacent, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that was what I fell into. Even though I hated what I was doing, I didn't hate what I was doing. I just felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. Like it wasn't fulfilling for me. Right. Selling wine wasn't fulfilling for me. Right. So, so just be careful of getting into that sort of schedule and that sort of, you know, rigmarole and just being complacent, because you can easily fall into that.
Yeah, and a lot of that is being comfortable, because sometimes you can just, it comes naturally, you're doing it easily. But I think part of what you were talking about being an entrepreneur, there's some risk involved, and it's not always comfortable to hear no, and it's not always comfortable to face rejection or to have things not turn out the way you had intended it to do the first time, and there's iterations and so on and so forth. But I think that being comfortable kind of stops us in all different areas. So that's a really great point. So before we let you go, because this has been a great hour with you, I want to go through some questions for our audience to see your take on it. And this is like first thing that comes to mind. So please. should share with us? What first thing that comes to mind?
I haven't read a book in a long time.
Oh, okay. So I might have to skip a question if that entails. But what is your favorite resource that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
There's a lot of resources, but the one that I probably use a lot just because I'm in marketing is Canva.
Yes, I love that.
I'm not a graphic designer.
A little trick, if you guys got the email and you see Lisa and our faces together, even when you saw Lisa by herself, that was all done in Canva. I love Canva too.
It's affordable. You can do professional looking, graphics. Photoshop to me is a time suck. It's a huge learning curve. So Canva works for me. That's what I use probably almost every day.
So take that down, guys. If you have a product or you're trying to do everything, because part of what Lisa probably didn't even get a lot into is you wear many hats when you're an entrepreneur. So if you're the CEO and the CMO, you might want to look at Canva. It's a really great resource. Lisa, what is your best advice for entrepreneurs?
Has to be network.
Network. You said that.
You can network by volunteering. National Black MBA.
Love it. It's a shameless plug, but she's right, guys.
Network.
From experience. Okay, so you did touch on this. You said, I haven't read a book in a while, but what is an article, a podcast, anything that you recently discovered that's kind of like helped you? I know you've been preparing for some of these VC presentations, but is there anything that you've come across that has helped you in any way in your entrepreneurship journey lately?
Yeah, so there is a podcast. We all have limited time. I like Neil Patel.
Okay.
It's called what is it? Marketing. It's just a marketing podcast. But the reason why I like it is because he gives you really, really helpful information, and it's like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes at most 10 minutes. Like most of his podcasts are like 6 or 7 minutes, and it's really, really good information.
Oh, that's a good one. I need to take that down as a marketer myself. Tell us the top 3 things that you can't live without. And I don't want to just streamline it from an entrepreneurship point of view, but what are some of your top 3 things that you I need when I go out the door?
I need my tea latte every morning. I need my workout.
Right. I hear you. Mental too. It's a great mental.
Oh yeah. And that's another thing, another advice, find something that you enjoy where you can just, come back refreshed. Whatever you do, you'll come back refreshed, because you cannot work, 24/7 and be productive. Seriously, you've got to have some sort of outlet where you can escape. And for me, it's working out, where I can just kind of veg out for a little bit, and I do that in the middle of the day.
Yeah, so. I hear you. And so finally, the last question would be in this lightning round is, times are really tough right now for us all. And so somebody that may have thought that maybe they missed their moments because things have drastically shifted, what advice would you give someone if they think that they've missed their moment, like they should have started 5 years ago, or because of the times they feel that it's not a good idea? What is some encouragement that you can give for somebody in that state?
I mean, I've missed so many opportunities. You just have to keep pushing. Again, if you believe in your heart that you're supposed to be doing something, then just keep pushing for it. And that's really what an entrepreneur is. I mean, even when you start doing it, you're going to have to push. You're going to have to push hard. And so if you think you've missed it, but you feel like, you know what, this is really something that I need to be doing. For me, and this was like grad school, I can't live the rest of my life with that what if dwelling in for for the rest of my life, right? So that's why I was like, okay, I've got it. Because I kept putting grad school off like year after year after year. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have that what if dwelling in the back of my mind for the rest of my life. So I went back to school and I don't regret it. That's the same thing with, starting something or being an entrepreneur. You just have to keep pushing. Don't think of it as failure. Think of it as a learning lesson. Like you're learning, this is a journey. So you're learning every day. And then, it's going to continue. So just keep pushing.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think that's a great way to close this segment is basically start the business. It's not too late,
Right.
But just continue. And that's what business is. It's about pivoting. So don't let the climate that we're in right now, just be very clear. Some of the takeaways from Lisa today is to one, be clear on your goals, and don't get too complacent. You need to network. That is very, very important. Your team will help you a lot. And those are people that you can kind of vet things off. But once again, when things don't turn out the way you had thought they would, they're a great sense of encouragement. So, and I just enjoyed hearing about Lisa's Shark Tank experience. Being an avid watcher, like I told you guys, I really enjoy them. And it's funny, Lisa, that you said about the pre-sales, because I often go to the website after or during when people are pitching ideas. So, yeah, so it's a really great point. But I hope you guys took away something from this conversation today. And thank you for being great co-hosts. I love the questions that came in. And so now I will turn this over to Deb.
Oh, and follow me on Twitter.
That's right. How else can they get in contact with you, especially if they want to get involved in any way? Besides Twitter, I follow Lisa. Lisa's taken us on a journey. She's taken me on a journey through her corporate to Shark Tank. But where else can they reach you, Lisa?
Definitely on LinkedIn, Lisa
Okay.
Love. Twitter, I'm really trying to be good at Twitter.
Okay.
So Lisa Loves Marketing or Lisa Love, and it's MKTG. So those are the two places really that LinkedIn or LinkedIn or Twitter.
Awesome. So, and don't forget.
Can I just say one thing too, is that
sure,
we are looking for a Black or brown lead engineer. So if you know anyone, please send us, their name, send them our way. So yeah, for Android.
Yeah, and apply too. If you meet those qualifications too, make sure you apply as well. And also don't forget to follow the chapter also on Instagram, on LinkedIn and Facebook. That's they the most engaged as well. And you can hear about more exciting events too using those mediums. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to our president, Deb Watson.
Wow, what a great, Melsha, I think I'm on pause or something. But anyway.
We can hear you, Deb. We just cannot see you, but we can definitely.
Oh, okay, no worries. So thank you all for joining tonight. Lisa, I wanted to extend a special thanks to you and Melsha for a great, exciting event in terms of speaking about entrepreneurship. You gave us a lot of insight into how that experience is, and we can't help but want to jump in with full force in order to get going with this entrepreneurship venture. So last but not least, I'd like to also thank the chapter members and participants on this call. Thank you guys for joining. We appreciate your time. And if you're interested in membership in the National Black MBA San Francisco chapter or interested in volunteering, please email us at marketing@sfnbmbaa.org. Again, membership in this awesome organization does not require an MBA. And so please consider joining. And lastly, please continue to follow CDC guidelines and remain safe. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great evening. And don't forget to vote. We are in our elections process, and that'll start sometime in November. So take care and have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Lisa.